Welcome to Candlewick Library. I'm Cheryl, and today I'm going to talk about my reading plans for October, but also the next few months. I'm actually taking a break from Victober this year. I have a couple of books that I'm reading, maybe possibly reading, that could count, but I have a bunch of books that are more on the mystery and spooky side that I wanted to get to, and so I decided I was going to focus on that this year. So last year I did the readathon, the TBR Harvest from, I think it's Leandra TBR 0. So I'll link it below. But I did her TBR Harvest last year that had a game, and that was really fun. And I kind of wanted to do that again. So I was waiting to see what she would announce. She announced it a couple of weeks ago, and one of them is this, Tombs and Tomes. And it has all of these little tombstones, and then over here are things that you look for. And it can be a scavenger hunt. So day one, it says black color, and you can either be reading a book that day that is that color and count that if you just found a book on your shelves, if you're not reading a book that has that. And then you can color in the tomb if you end up reading the book and finishing it. You could go read her announcement or watch her announcement video for this and you'll get all of the details. And then she also had a pumpkin patch. There were a few prompts on here that I knew I wasn't going to end up doing that wouldn't have matched any of the books that I wanted to read. And so I just covered those up with a little pumpkin, and I'm just doing all of the other ones. So you can gather little cats and ghosts along here, just like with the game board last year. And so then I wrote over here all the different things. Some of them are activities, some of them are books. And then there was also a bingo going on. This is the one I was most excited about. There were a bunch of different bingo cards to choose from. I chose card number 3, and every week she has a bunch of different people that are in on this, and they all have a bingo number. And so if it matches up to something on your bingo card, it has a prompt for you, and you just have to get those prompts throughout the month and try to get a bingo. The first one was on September 19th, and most of the cards all of the cards had multiple prompts available, except for my card, of course. And my card only had one prompt, which was a middle grade book, which is perfect because I have a few middle grade books on my list. But hopefully that won't continue, or I won't be able to probably get a bingo, but we'll see. And every year that I've been doing these with her, and this year was no exception, she has some kind of prompt involved in one of those boards where you are reading something from another readathon that's going on. And so one of the ones she talked about was the Halloweenathon, which I didn't know about, and I went and watched the video. It's really fun too. They have this game board here, and there's different sections to trick or treat at. She has so many different ways you can play this. It is definitely a pick what you want to do, make it work for you kind of a thing. But I thought the game board was so cute that I wanted to do it. So what I ended up doing is they had one game board was filled in with numbers already, and then there were prompts that went with all of those numbers. She also had another game board that was blank, and you could choose which ones you wanted. So what I ended up doing, I decided I was going to do one prompt from each of the areas. So I went through the prompts and I used a dice and I rolled it to get the different prompts to get around the game board. And if I landed on more than one in each area, then I chose which one I wanted to do. And then I just filled in this kind of a bingo board with all of the ones I want to do. I made myself stick to that number. So once I did one from each area, then there was also like backup prompts and suggestions. And so I picked from those based on the rolls. In my blank board, I put in little letters and I put in other things that I was interested in doing, so that when I landed on those, then I could add those here as well. So that I'm really excited about doing. And so then I took all of those ones and then just made another page showing each one what the prompt is for those particular things. Those are all the things I'm going to be using as prompts for October. But basically I have a huge pile of books that I want to read in October. And some of them are for sure October reads. Some of them might go over into November. So I'm just going to go through the books, and I'm not going to say which ones are going to be for what prompts, because some of them I know, but some of them I don't know yet, because it'll depend on which ones I get through for sure. First of all, I'm not going to hold all of these up because it would take forever to go through them. But if you saw my Agatha Christie video at the beginning of the year, I went through all of the Agatha Christie books that I wanted to read this year. That was my main author project this year, was Agatha Christie, a bunch of her books that I hadn't read or didn't remember reading, and then a biography about her. And I have not done very well with that this year. I've been reading a lot of other things, and I've read a couple of the books off of it, but I have not got very far. And I really still want to try to get through them before the end of the year. Years ago, I used to read Agatha Christie almost exclusively in October. Every October, I would go to the library and get a bunch of Agatha Christie books, and that's what I would be reading all month long. And so I thought that would be kind of fun to do this year as well. But again, I do have a pile of books I want to get to in October. So I'm going to have the next few Agatha Christie's be for sures, and then the rest are going to be possibles in between other books if I feel like it, and then they will go over into November. So if you're interested in which ones I still have to read, the next one is The Seven Dials Mystery. That is one that I'm for sure going to be reading in October. So if you want to see what other ones I still have on my list, you can just go back and watch the Agatha Christie video, and anything that comes after that is still on my list. So then as far as the other books that I have on my list, there is a new Jamie Jo Wright book coming out. I forgot what it's called, something about bells. I will put a picture up and you can see that I pre-ordered, so that will be getting here. But I also have The Haunting at Bonaventure Circus by her, as well as The Reckoning of Gossamer Pond. These are two of her books that I own that I have not read yet, so these are for sure October reads along with the new one. So then I have some middle grades that I'm going to try to get to in October. The Pumpkin Princess and the Forever Knight, and Secrets of Shakespeare's Grave. This one probably isn't as much of a priority because not necessarily a Halloween-ish book, I don't think. So this would be fine going into November if I need it to. I've also been wanting to get to Devil in the White City by Leif Erikson. A Viking wrote this. Eric Larson. This is about the World's Fair. I've been recommended this quite a few times, and it was one of them I wanted to get to next, so I thought that might be a good October book. And then I've been wanting to get to The Curious Inheritance of Blakely House for a very long time. So I'm hoping to do that one in October. From my independent bookstore project, I had a lot of books that I've been kind of gathering that would work for that. One of them is The Millicent Quibb, School of Etiquette for Young Ladies of Mad Science. That sounds like it might be a fun one for October. And The Haunting of Granite Falls by Eva Ibbotson. So that's two more middle grades that are on the possibility list. For my American literature course, I need to read a couple of Shirley Jackson books. And one of them is We've Always Lived in the Castle, which has kind of a spooky cover with a cat on it. I don't really know if it's spooky, but it looks a little spooky. And then The Haunting of Hill House, which I have read before, but it's been so long I don't remember anything about it. So these two I really want to get to in October. And then I also have A Most Agreeable Murder by Julia Seals, and this one I think would be a good October read. I have this book that is a 2-in-1 of Christopher Morley books. It has Parnassus on Wheels, but it also has The Haunted Bookshop. And then I've been wanting to get to Wilkie Collins' The Moonstone for a really long time as well. This is a huge book, so this may not happen. If it does, then that could count toward October, but I'm not really expecting to get to that one. But I have it on the list. And it, like I said, it can move into November or I can save it for later. And then I already started Dracula, but I'm going to be reading this throughout all of October. I'm reading this with a group on Instagram. I tend to read Dracula almost every single year. It's one of my favorite books. It's definitely perfect for October, and this also could count for Victober. And then last weekend, I was in a Barnes & Noble, and there was an author at a table, and nobody was there at the moment, and she said hi to me, and so I went over to talk to her. She asked me if she could tell me about her books, and I said sure. So she told me about them. They're both kind of spooky-ish middle grades. Something about me is that I find it hard to not buy an author's book if they are doing a signing like that in a store. And if there's somebody that I've never heard of. We also had a Wisconsin tie. She's from Wisconsin. We moved here from Wisconsin. So I decided I was going to get one of them, and I chose this one, A Bite Above the Rest, which is like a vampire book. But then I realized the other one, Phantom Academy, this one is pretty small, and it was a paperback, so it was really cheap. They actually were both really good prices. But I decided that I was going to just go ahead and get both. She signed them both, and I'm going to see if I like them. And if I don't, then at least I was able to support an author, and I can pass them on. Those are all of the books I'm planning. Like I said, that's a lot of books, especially with all of the Agatha Christie. So mainly all of the ones that are more Halloween-ish are going to be read in October. Those are the ones I will prioritize. And then in November, and the reason I'm saying this now is because I won't be making a TBR for November or December this year. I am going to take anything I don't read and push it into those months and just keep reading until I'm done with this pile of books. There will be a few more that come up. The next Timeless one comes out in November, so that will for sure be being added in November. And I don't know if there's anything else there probably will be a few more books that will show up on my radar and I'll want to read. But I'm not going to be doing any readathons in November or December. I will just be continuing with this pile of books. I'm going to be taking a little bit of a YouTube break, and that will be watching too. So throughout October, I will have a wrap up of what I read in September for Back to Hogwarts, and there should be one more video next week that is Hogwarts related, and then the one of what I read in September. And then I will have the video I'll have the second part of my independent bookshop project, because I did finish that last month. So that will all be coming in October. Other than that, I probably won't have any other videos in October. And then in November, I will probably do an October wrap up in November of how many of these I did get to in October. And then there might be a couple of videos that will be later announced that will happen throughout that month. But then once Thanksgiving gets here, I will not be on YouTube very much. I will watch videos, but not as many. Last year, I got really overwhelmed with all of the daily videos. I'm not going to be getting on as much. So if you don't see me as much, that's why. And I won't be doing any videos as soon as Thanksgiving week gets here. I won't be doing any more videos until the end of December, when I'm doing wrap up videos and videos for the next year. So that is one of the reasons that I don't want to do any readathons in November or December. I really need to step back a little bit during those time periods, because last year I found myself having to choose sometimes between that and the things I wanted to do for the holidays, and feeling overwhelmed by that. Yeah, I would love to know if you're going to be doing any readathons in October, and what you're planning on reading, and I'll be back next week.